So this one's sort of an impromptu video, and I just wanted to create like an anthology, a mini anthology of poetry, which is basically like a mini collection of some poems that resonated with me. And I'm not going to go deep into it because most of these poems and most of the works of these poets you have to sit with, work with, and take a lot of time out of to understand each and every line, each and every interpretation of every line. But I'm just going to cover some of the interpretations of some of the lines that really talked with me. So I'll be starting with Poe, of course. So Edgar Allan Poe, and I'll be talking about The Raven, which I believe is the most famous poem of Poe. And I'm not going to recite the entire poem because it's like a 10-minute long poem. Maybe I can do that in a separate video just for The Raven. I can try that. But yeah, so the most important and the most famous line of Poe is "Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary," which is a very gothic style poem, which is a very it's a strong and deep and dark setting that you're just put into. Out of nowhere, the poem starts with the main character just sitting in a bedroom, in a dark bedroom, alone in the entire house, and suddenly he hears the tapping of a raven at his window, and this raven says just one word, which is nevermore, and it is supposed to be symbolic of the dread that is never going to go away from our main character, of his lost love Lenore. And there are so many there are so many implications of nevermore. There are so many meanings of this. The never again is he going to be happy, never again is he going to be relieved of grief. And the poem also hits on some biblical references, and of course I always love a biblical reference, like this very famous line, like, is there balm in Gilead? To me, this particular line is written with such an aching effort, as if the narrator is almost begging from something that he may or may not believe in, just to get distant from the pain that is there. Because if you don't know, the balm in Gilead is actually a biblical reference of this balm that is supposed to relieve all sort of pain and all sort of diseases and illness. And the narrator here is trying to ask, the main character here is trying to ask for this balm to actually get relief from this pain, from this reminder, from this raiment. And there's also this one line that I really love about this poem. It talks about the raven only saying nevermore, and the line goes like, that one word, as if his soul in that one word he did outpour. It's I'm just lost for words at this line, because it might seem a bit weird out of context, but there's so many strong feelings in that one line. Moving on, next poet that I want to talk about is Tennyson. So, interesting thing about Lord Alfred Tennyson is that he's known as the poet of grief, which is not really a good title. It's not a title that anyone would want. But because in order to be known as the poet of grief, you have to go through a lot of pain yourself. You have to go through a lot of heartbreak yourself. And for Tennyson, that was the loss of his dear friend, who later became his brother-in-law, Arthur Henry Hallam, which Tennyson just never recovered from him. Recovered from the death of Hallam, and Hallam died because I think a nerve in his brain broke, and it just burst when he was out in Vienna. And there's a longer poem actually. So I'm going to be talking about Break, Break, Break in this particular video, but in actuality, the memoriam for AAH is and the actual homage that Tennyson gives to his best friend Hallam, and it took him 17 years to write that. But for this particular video, I'm going to be talking about Break, Break, Break. Break, break, break on thy gold grey stones, O sea. and I would that my tongue could utter the thoughts that arise in me. Oh, well for the fisherman's boy that he shouts with his sister at play. Oh, well for the sailor lad that he sings in his boat on the bay. And the stately ships go on to their haven under the hill. But oh, for the touch of a vanished hand and the sound of a voice that is still. Break, break, break at the foot of thy crags, O sea, but the tender grace of a day that is dead will never come back to me. It just this one really gives me some goosebumps. So here there's a lot of metaphors, obviously, like any other poem. But what you might notice the words like haven, which is referring to heaven, where his friend has gone to. The grey stones, which might remind you of gravestones. And there's a pattern in this poem. So in the poem we go from like stanza wise, we go from the fisherman's boy to the sailor lad to the stately ships, which is supposed to represent a linearity of life. It's supposed to be going from childhood to adolescence to adulthood, and of course the line after that represents death, a vanished hand. But there's a lot of pain in this particular poem. It brings out sort of a disharmony in you, and ironically it's a very articulate poem. I would highly suggest just go and read this on your own. Most of these poems, especially the Raven, are actually better listened to than read, but of course it's your choice. Next, I would like to go to Keats. So John Keats was a romantic poet, and again, it's sort of a sad story. Though John Keats is known for romanticism, which is the focus on beauty, nature, and emotions, and he does this beautifully, which is very interesting because Keats was very ill of tuberculosis, and he died at 25. He was very aware of his mortality, and which goes into this poem, which we are going to talk about, the Ode on a Grecian Urn. The poem reflects a desire for permanence in art. So I won't read the entire poem because again it's a very long poem and it would deserve a video of its own by someone. I don't know if I can do that video because it's sort of a difficult poem for me. But it starts with the line, "Thou still unravished pride of quietness, thou foster child of silence and slow time." It's a beautiful opening. It's a beautiful opening, and the entire poem uses iambic pentameter. And the urn here represents a piece of art that is frozen in a moment of time, and it's supposed to hit on themes like how art can outlive its creator and art can stand on its own as well. But these are very interesting and profound thoughts. And lastly, I would like to focus on Shakespeare because, of course, no literary video, no literary list is complete without Shakespeare. And I'm going to be talking about his sonnets. I'm not going to be talking about Sonnet 18, which is, I believe, it's the most famous sonnet. You might have heard of these famous lines. That's how it starts. "Shall I compare thee to a summer's eve? Thou art more lovely and more temperate." It's a very beautiful line, but we are going to be talking about sonnet 216, which is it's just a sonnet that resonated with me more. I haven't gone through all the sonnets, but this one really hit me right in the spot. Just before I start, the first few sonnets were actually so we don't know who these sonnets are exactly attributed to. The first few sonnets are attributed to some young man, as Shakespeare refers to him. It could be perhaps the controversial Mr. W.H. We don't know about that. There's a whole controversy about Shakespeare having romantic feelings for some Mr. W.H. Who we don't know who that is. And the later sonnets are actually attributed to as Shakespeare says, a dark lady. We don't know who that is again, but sure. So sonnet 116 goes like, "Let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediments. Love is not love which alters when it alteration finds, or bends with the remover to remove. Oh no, it is an ever fixed mark that looks on tempests and is never shaken. It is a star to every wandering bark, whose worth's unknown although his height be taken. Love's not time's fool, though rosy lips and cheeks within his bending sickle's compass come. Love alters not with his brief hours and weeks, but bears it out even to the edge of doom. If this be error and upon me proved, I never writ, nor no man ever loved. Again, a very beautiful sonnet. And you'll notice that for a sonnet who is based on love and happiness and such beautiful things, it has a lot of negative attributes in it. And by that I mean it starts off by let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impedance. Love is not love, and you'll see that it's riddled in the entire sonnet. These negative words are just spread everywhere, which is sort of an interesting observation, I would say. And it talks about what love is supposed to be by talking about what love is not, which is another way to go about it. And the ending is very interesting here, which is like, if this be error and upon me proved, I never writ, nor no man ever loved. It talks about how if any of the things that he said is there's any error in them and it is proved, then Shakespeare never wrote, which is false, because obviously he did write that, and no man ever loved, which is again true because people have loved. But yeah, so you can just go deep into this sonnet and you can find very interesting things here and there, like bending sickles compass come, we know what that's talking about. It's talking about the grim reaper. And there are tons of interesting finds in this particular sonnet, and every sonnet is like that. Every sonnet is filled with tons and tons of metaphors and information that you need to actually put a pen down and find them.